Let me introduce you to our next keynote speaker. Once again, I say that we have the proud privilege of welcoming amidst us Rosemary Sassoon, and who's all of 92 years of age. And naturally because of the distance, the physical distance, it wasn't possible for her to be here physically. She was quite keen actually, and because she has connectivity issues, she's not been able to be present digitally. But she was very keen that, after learning about Typo Day, that she felt that her work would feature spot on for an occasion like this. And in a series of back and forth, we've been able to put together presentations sent by Rosemary. And it'll be my effort now to be able to communicate everything that Rosemary Sassoon has sent to us. The work that she has done across the span of her lifetime is today archived in some of the most important places connected to typography and the learning of children. Because she was born in UK and because she did most of her studies in UK, a lot of that material is archived in the United Kingdom. I would start by saying that in brief, Rosemary Sassoon is an expert in handwriting, especially that of children. She has designed the Sassoon family of fonts, which were created in collaboration with her working partner, Adrian Williams, and are especially meant to be readable for children and learners. Please know that just realizing what her age is, that she had started all this work very, very early on, in the 40s and the 50s. When in her early 50s of age, that is when she was in her 50s, after having done a whole body of work, Rosemary undertook to study for a PhD, receiving her doctoral degree in 1988 from the very eminent University of Reading at the Department of Typography and Graphic Communications in England. It's one of the best places for typography at any rate. And she was awarded a PhD for a study into the impact of models and instructional strategies on how kids learn to join up their handwriting. Today, the archives of the University of London's Institute of Education house all of Sassoon's personal papers, while Sassoon herself is now today located in West Australia. Rosemary Sassoon's passion for letter forms has spanned her entire lifetime. After receiving training as a designer and scribe, so please know that she was trained in designer and a scribe, which is like journalism, she created, and it's important to know that she had a background in both handwriting and the art of writing and designing. So she was very well equipped to understand how children needed to, write and write well. Rosemary Sassoon created strategies for teaching letters before switching to handwriting analysis. The project that resulted in the Sassoon family of typefaces came about when she discovered that absolutely no research had been undertaken to find out from children themselves what kind of letters they found easiest to read. So now what we will do is we are going to start the slides and we will take you through Rosemary's work. Let's just start with the slides here, the ones that I have already talked about very quickly. So like I said, she's an expert in handwriting, and she partnered with her working partner, Adrian Williams, and then she got her PhD from Reading. She also received her basic training in design as well as being a scribe until she moved on into handwriting analysis. And then she moved on to trying to understand how children find it easy to write by actually interacting with children. So what is very significant here is that she not only found that no research had been undertaken to find out from children themselves what kind of letters they found easiest to read. And I'm talking about the 60s and 70s when the world was obsessed with the commercial approaches to design, which was called product-centric, whereas Rosemary was this rare designer who came out with this idea that for good design, for meaningful, fruitful design, one needs to deploy user-centric design, which means in her case, go straight to the children to find out what works for them and what doesn't. So on studying her user group, which is children, she found that young children were amazingly articulate. Their judgments and comments were therefore instrumental in the design of Sassoon Primary. This work now remains documented in computers and typography, and we get to see what Sassoon Primary is. As our typefaces spread around the world, both with publishers and for installing these in school computers, because know that by now this is like 80s and 90s, the need for even more alternative letter forms became critical. So while the sans serif family had filled a real need for maximum legibility, particularly on screen, it also highlighted the fact that few designers have faced up to the reality that designing for the computer screen is an altogether new discipline with very different criteria required for letter forms. So it now became very clear that one needed a unified font that could be variable enough to satisfy the needs of advertisers, the needs of educationists around the world in countries that had varying perceptions of letter forms. And it could not just be, business as usual. So while focusing more and more on the issues with contemporary communication, Rosemary Sassoon continues to work as a consultant in the educational and the medical elements of handwriting. She remains solely aware about the design of the screen, about how text and illustrations interact, the multicultural features of letters used for reading and writing, and how computers have affected iconic communications, and how all these are today competing for our attention. She continues to give lectures as well as write about and offer advice on the issues that interest her. Not to mention that since 1985, in partnership with Adrian Williams, a whole range of font products for reading and handwriting education in schools have been developed and deployed way into 2016 and beyond. That is how topical and how advanced her work continues to be. Now, it will be my privilege to read out to you a letter that is meant for all of you and sent by Rosemary before we show you her actual work. She says, in her own words, "I'm extremely sorry that I'm unable to attend your aspirational conference, but now, being over 90 years of age, traveling has become difficult. Anyhow, it is high time that I pass on my interests and works to the next generations, and what better occasion than with you all together here for Typo Day being held out of India, but to a very wide range of audiences in India and across the world." And then she says, "How did it all start for me? I had never expected to be a type designer. I had been involved in lettering and letterform since I was very young, when I was somewhat unexpectedly asked to look at handwriting problems. I reluctantly agreed and was one day at a special needs center when at coffee time, a teacher suddenly came out with this statement, 'Rosemary, you know all sorts of things about handwriting, don't you? But can you tell me, please, can you tell me why my kids can read some pages of this book, but not the others?' Rosemary took a look at the book and she says, the answer was obvious. The text of the first pages of this book was justified, but the next ones were not. If short lines of large text are justified, then spacing is upset. Once a line of longer words come in, they may be widely spaced, but on a line that consists of shorter words, they may become squashed together and difficult to decipher. This made me wonder, what would be the optimum spacing for those with learning problems? Basically, children suffering from dyslexia, cerebral palsy, etc. If I was going to do any research, I would need to decide what typeface to use. The so-called experts told me not to be so stupid. Anyone knew that apparently what typeface to use. They said Times Roman was the best for everyone. But Rosemary says, I did not agree, considering the double storied letters A and G and being a problem. She also says preliminary inquiries revealed some strange facts. One large special needs school said that their pupils their students seem to prefer Times italic. I would not have thought that this would be very legible, but nonetheless, I included it in my work. All the details of this project are now reported in Computers Typography that was published by Intellect way back in 1993. I had used 4 typefaces, Times Roman and Times Italic, plus 2 sans typefaces, one upright and one slanting. The spacing of the text went from very wide to narrow, and the text was given to schools in various places with children of different ages. It took 2 years for the results to come in. As far as spacing, it was governed by children's ability to read. So any decisions would have to be considered by educational publishers. The letters were much more interesting. Times Roman came last overall, and Times Italic and slanting sans near the top. I took no part in the actual testing. I did not want to exert any influence. However, I sometimes did ask children what they thought about different typefaces, and their answers were surprising. Some described the text as ugly or even harsh, while others said the text is friendly. Children seem to be able to discern things that adults no longer perceived. Perhaps even more important, when I asked some children why they like Times Italic, the answer was because of the flick-ups, which is how they described the base of the letters, which bonded the letters together and made the words easier to read. What did all this teach me? That one should always question accepted research, even by the so-called experts. And if you do not agree, you should carry out your own research work and actual questioning of any possible readers before launching your own findings. This is how it is reflected in my own design. I learned to make my typeface appear friendly, and of course, that the letters should include that flick up. She calls it exit stroke. However, all my subjects were English using the Latin alphabet. Some of you, because she's addressing our group, some of you will be involved in different scripts where other factors may influence legibility. Also, given the amount of increasing reading on the screen, one will need to take steps. Designing typefaces comes with opportunities, but also responsibilities, in that you must always ensure that whatever you recommend is actually beneficial. The only way to ensure that is by meaningful research. So good luck, and I look forward to hearing all about your conference, which also yours sincerely, Rosemary Sassoon. And as I play out the work that she has sent us to be shared with you, please jot down your questions and we will send them to her, because she said she will answer each one of them. So I now come to Rosemary Sassoon's works. We'll go slide by slide, and I am simply letting you know what Rosemary has sent for us. So this is her Sassoon fonts, the first page. Many children start school with their hands not ready and not quite ready, and are then trained to produce the precise strokes required to form letters before starting to write. This creates in them a sense of pattern making that is essential preparation, Rosemary says, and makes it fun for children, A, to build up their confidence, and B, it trains their muscles for the writing of the text. Now, she then goes on to say that she shows this slide where she says, here are 4 fonts that provide the basic requirements for teaching both reading and precursive handwriting. One is Sassoon Infant Dotted B for handwriting beginners to track over letters. 2 is Sassoon Infant Line, handwriters to copy what they see on the line. So first is you track, then you copy. Third is Sassoon Infant Regular for short passages of text or large displays to aid handwriting. And fourthly, Sassoon Primary Regular for large passages or whole books of typeset reading material. In this slide, she shows an upright typeface family developed to meet the demand for letters to produce the students material for handwriting as well as for reading. Many alternative letters are included in each font. Upright letters with extended ascenders and descenders are ideal on screen, she says. They facilitate word recognition. The exit strokes link words together visually, and in handwriting, they lead to a spontaneous joining along the baseline, leading logically to a joined up hand. She then moves on to an upright typeface family developed to meet the demand for letters to produce the pupil student material for handwriting as well as for reading. So this goes past the tracking part that she's talked about earlier. Several alternative letters are included in each font, emphasizing that upright letters with extended ascenders and descenders are ideal on screen because firstly, they facilitate word recognition. Secondly, the exit strokes link words together visually. And thirdly, in handwriting, they lead to spontaneous joining along the baseline, leading logically to a joined up hand. And lastly, she says, together, these typefaces provide a very valuable resource for special needs teachers. She then moves on to what she calls the regular typeface that is being shown here, which was researched with children, for children, and developed specially for use in children's reading books. And it may sound quite the practice today, but in her times, no one went to the user. Modern typefaces have shortened ascenders and descenders to help fit as much text as possible into a page, but words lose their shape. This may not trouble literate adults, but it is quite a different matter for children struggling to read. Hence, these friendly characters were the result of asking children what kind of letters they found easiest to read, and then including features like extending the ascenders and descenders. The slide slant makes blocks of text easier to read. She moves on to a simple italic style shown in these A's, specially developed for mixing with any of the Sassoon fonts to provide emphasis. This italic provides emphasis when used with Roman weights. Sassoon medium italic may be used successfully with either medium or bold weights. Its greater weight difference when used with bold creates even more emphasis. Here she shows the Sassoon joiner family, which was designed for teaching children. These join as you type out the fonts situations and are for use with applications compatible with OpenType fonts. It also enables progressive student exercises for a smooth transition between separate letters and teaching joined handwriting. This Sassoon Write family, of course, is designed for older pupils and adults. A family of 4 join as you type fonts or use them unjoined for OpenType compatible applications. It also enables progressive student exercises for a smooth transition between separate letters and teaching joined handwriting. The Sassoon joiner family Nordic set was designed for teaching children. These join as you type fonts meant for use with applications compatible with type fonts and enable progressive pupil student exercises for a smooth transition between separate letters and teaching joined handwriting. Then I come to the Sassoon Felt family, where an educator's alternative to Comic Sans from Microsoft and Chalkboard from Apple, which are appropriate for print style writing in the United States elementary schools and may also be appropriate for parts of Australia. These features usually include crucifix T, diagonal Y downstroke, short F, two-stroke, and there may be more. Sassoon Felt's more casual letter forms can be used either as informal text or for the teaching of reading and handwriting, with the letter forms most taught in UK schools today. And then there is a Sassoon book family where semi-serif Roman and italic for typefaces for setting legible children's reading books are being shown. A gentle introduction for young readers to serifed letter forms they will eventually encounter. The Sassoon Montessori family typefaces follow Montessori Institute guidelines for reading and handwriting. With these fonts, the crucial stages of letter formation are made easier for parents and teachers to produce consistent worksheets. Children should then progress towards an efficient and mature joined up handwriting. She then shows three more slides. The Sassoon Sans family, which she says is a more mature font retaining the clarity of the Sassoon typefaces that accentuate word shape while omitting the exit strokes. A more legible alternative to standard sans serif typefaces, superb on the screen, she says. Many alternative letters are included in each font. A typeface designed with the computer screen in mind, this one. It also retains maximum legibility, even in the most unusual layout, and ideal for multimedia users and uses, and giving unimagined clarity to menus and navigational aids. It's also legible in print at tiny point sizes, so ideal for captions, ideal for older students, perhaps at secondary school levels, or adults who no longer require exit strokes to clump the letters together. She then shows us Sassoon sans slope family, an elegant sloping sans serif typeface with generous ascenders and descenders, retaining legibility down to small sizes. The slight slant makes it ideal for larger blocks of text. Legible letter forms for the computer age. Many alternative letters are included in each font. A new concept in sans serif typefaces as well. The clear, friendly letter forms and extended ascenders and descenders that together promote fast word recognition, designed originally for Sassoon Primary, are now modified to suit adult users. Slightly sloping letter forms make the reading of blocks of print easier, ideal for older students, perhaps at secondary schools, or adults who no longer require, as I said earlier, exit strokes to clump the letters together. Finally, the Sassoon Sans family US said, the last slide here, the last but one or two slides, North American version for teaching children's first letter forms with dots and arrows is what is represented through the Sassoon Sans family US set. A more legible alternative to standard sans serif typefaces, superb on the screen. Many alternative letters are included in each font. A typeface designed with the computer screen in mind. It also retains maximum legibility, even in the most unusual layout, and ideal for multimedia users, and giving unimagined clarity to menus and navigational aids, as she said earlier. It avoids eye strain with the typeface that accentuates word shape as well as the identity of individual letters. The Sassoon Infant Pro family represents regular and bold typefaces covering pan-European languages, 9 Latin, 6 Cyrillic, which is East European group of languages. Then you have Greek, you have Turkish, you have 13 Baltic, which is by the agency Southern Eastern Europe. Yes, 8 Rusyn, 6 Nordic, also some Vietnamese. Upright typefaces developed to meet demand for letters that can be used to produce student material for reading as well as handwriting. And here is a plethora of books written by Rosemary. I mean, look at the books that she has written. She has proven to be of enduring value, having worked for most part of her life, which would be a productive 75 to 80 years almost. And because she's been working at it for her work is luckily archived, and she has a very clear, lucid mind. We did try our best to try and get her, and she nearly agreed. But then she said, if the connectivity doesn't work, then it'll be neither here nor there. I would like your audience to understand and to take a look at my work and understand. And if there are questions, I would love to answer those, so that by sending you the material, we can have a productive session. I think that the best message for this keynote is the fact that at age 91, you can be so lucid, so eager to share, so fresh in your mind, so apt with the times, because her material continues to be adopted. And of course, she has been very, very savvy with the upskilling process of the non-digital to the digital, namely the computer screen. So if you have questions, and it doesn't have to be just questions, it can be observations. It can also be your own experience with your vernacular type that you would like to share with her, because she would love to get these. If you can just put them down and send them to us on the chat. We will make sure that Rosemary receives, and we will send your email ID so that she can reply to you. You are always welcome to talk to her. On a one-on-one basis, connectivity is not really a problem. And she's very, very open-hearted and very keen to understand what work's going on in this domain, especially in the domain of non-Latin alphabet. This was the first time in these 15 years of Typo Day that we have featured someone so senior, not only by learning and erudition, but also by age. It makes us feel, for some miracle, R.K. Joshi was still alive, then R.K. Joshi and Rosemary could have been, talking together, exchanging notes and thoughts. And anyway, it is the intent of Typo Day to, get people together to do meaningful work, because the platform it's an annual platform, but you're doing your work as an ongoing set of projects and exercises. And it's our, responsibility to help you connect with people who are doing meaningful work. So Professor Poovaiya has a comment to make, and I will let him take on the platform for a little while.
See, this is more of a request than a comment. If you have seen Rosemary's work, right, it is so detailed. She spent, of course, years and years trying to understand what typeface could be for children. And if you look at our own context, we have so many languages, right? And we have not even begun this question here. And, the previous speaker, Rukmini, was, exactly at that stage of saying that that's almost the first thing the children need to do, trying to learn to read a script, right? And designers can play a very positive role in this, and I think because we have so many scripts, you need so many of us to be working on this and contributing it, so that's, I think, a to-do list for all of us. Yeah.
And I think it's entirely possible that if you wish to work with Rosemary, there must be a simple way to figure that out as well.
Yeah,
these are all, because she's so very savvy with the digital medium. So connecting on one-on-one should not be a problem with her. Connecting as a group at a conference, she was a little worried, but she didn't want the whole thing to, fall flat, and then, her voice is not being heard. The content communication suffers, etc.
Thank you, Dr. Aditya Sen, for the beautiful presentation on behalf of Dr. Rosemary Sisal. And also, I thank Dr. Rukmini Banerjee for the wonderful talk. It was great listening to both of you.